Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock live stream. Welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter. Marvin? Okay, sorry about that. I had another video. It was over. A little bit of feedback. Okay, everything is good.
Hi, Jack. It's a pleasure to be here again.
Okay, yeah, so welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock live stream. Sorry about the little feedback in the beginning. Video window open. We are back with Mentis Life Sciences Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Marvin Hausman. Dr. Marvin, welcome back.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
And of course, you're back from a massive trip. You went to the jungle in the Amazon. You were in the jungle for like, I don't know, you were like the Indiana Jones in the jungle. Then you went to the Galapagos Islands, and now you're back.
I made it back. It's true Indiana Jones, but I was a photographic venture, the Amazon, the Ecuadorian Amazon, the Galapagos. I just got back. I haven't had a chance to download my pictures yet, Jack.
So, by
the way, I did take some mushroom pictures in the jungle, and they're growing on trees down there, which makes them very powerful. I don't know what kind they are, but it was very interesting for me because, as you know, I'm very interested in nature, and nature is absolute.
And mushrooms, of course.
Of course. I mean, that's why I'm involved with Nova and psilocybin. It comes from a mushroom.
So speaking of mushrooms, we got a really exciting new developments going on right now. As the company is moving forward, you got the phase 2A Health Canada trial coming up for Fragile X, psilocybin for Fragile X autism, which is, we'll talk about that upcoming trial. But I want to talk about some of the latest developments. There's been a lot of news, a lot of developments since you were last on, which is, I think, in April, right before your trip. And now the big adventure begins. This is going to be much more exciting than going to the Amazon and the Galapagos, because we're talking about something really incredible. So, Marvin, can you talk about? I want to get into some of today's announcement. So, what's the significance of the announcement with the UCF, University of Central Florida, which is for you're developing this a serotonin, an assay to measure serotonin levels. Is that right?
That's true. This has been fantastic.
Through saliva, though. That's the big thing.
No. I was away, but to come back with two major announcements this week from a scientific basis, these are groundbreaking announcements. So we can start with UCF was put out this morning. That is an agreement that I've been working on for the past 6 months with the University of Central Florida. And they have a scientist by the name of Dr. Sugaya, who's a neuroscientist, chairman of the Department of Neuroscience. And he has an assay to measure products in exosomes. Exosomes are small fluid-filled sacs or vesicles that are used for body's communication. That means we have our own language internally, and head of cells talk to each other. Well, they extrude. These are small, very small vesicles that the cell produces and pushes them out through the cell membrane. And these vesicles carry DNA, RNA, proteins, other substances, and they're taken up by other cells in the body. In fact, nerve cells extrude vesicles to communicate with nearby nerve cells. So this is very exciting. And what we're attempting to do with Dr. Sugaya is that these exosomes or vesicles leave the brain, come through the blood-brain barrier, and carry within their interior serotonin, which is beautiful. And they come into the saliva of people. And so this is a golden opportunity to get this assay going. We're collecting saliva from patients with autism as part of our IRB approved observational study, and we can talk about that.
Yeah,
we're sending them, and these samples are being collected, stored at -80 degrees, coming from all over Canada, United States. We have over 70 patients, I think 75 as of today, and we only launched the study 4 to 5 weeks ago. Tremendous response. And we're going to be studying that with Dr. Sugaya. This could be significant breakthrough technology in the field of autism, because the ability to standardized serotonin assay in saliva. Means you don't have to have an invasive blood test. You can monitor the child easily or the adult. You can see response to therapy. Say you're giving a drug, you're under, which we can talk about also through NOVA. We can actually monitor response to that drug therapy by measuring serotonin, which is
So
exciting.
this okay. So we can see how this kind of ties in. Now I have a question. Is this so the serotonin the saliva-based assay? Will you who's going to own the IP? Will you own that jointly with the university?
Yeah, we will jointly own it. It's a research agreement, though. It's with the UCF Research Foundation,
Okay.
which controls the technology. Dr. Sugaya is an employee at the university, but our deal is directly with the Research Foundation, and the deal and the agreement deals directly with joint ownership of the technology.
Okay.
So Dr. Sugaya will standardize the assay. We're going to supply the patients. And we will then file probably joint patents on the technology.
Okay. So essentially, so let's talk about just to recap. So the role, so essentially, you need to measure the serotonin levels because that ties into you need to because that's a biomarker of autism, right? It's one of the biomarkers.
Yeah, what we know, Jack, and we
Levels, yeah.
talked about this before, is that when a child develops autism after birth, it's known that it has lower levels of serotonin as compared to individuals who are non-autistic. So, and then the non-autistic individual, as they approach age 10, the levels of serotonin go down. And that's when the autistic child starts having increased levels of serotonin.
Oh,
So the theory being that the serotonin levels are very important in neuroplasticity, the development of the nervous system. And that's what happens in autism, that there's an inadequate amount of serotonin.
Okay, so let's talk about the advantage that this gives you. So you're able to, with this new assay you've developed, you're able to measure the serotonin levels through saliva. What advantage does that give Nova Mentis in terms of for what you're doing?
Well, we have to
The
talk
clinical trials and everything else.
No, we have to talk about the personality of the autistic child. The child has hyperanxiety, has social communication problems, social activation problems, interaction, cognition problems. You think you're going to deal with this child easily to draw blood, but he could overreact. Collecting saliva is a big step. You don't have to stick a needle into the arm. The child can just spit some saliva into a tube, and we can send it to the lab and measure serotonin. That's one aspect. Excuse me one second. The second aspect is to have a standardized data bank because things change. So a 3-year-old child, a 5-year-old child, a 7-year-old autistic child may have different levels of serotonin. And you want to measure serotonin in that individual who's undergoing therapy, whether it's behavioral therapy or whether it's drug therapy. It's nice to be able it's nice to be able to measure that.
No, so it's
standardized. You want to have a data bank. You want to compare. So we're not just using biased subjective behavioral tests, which are well known in autism or Fragile X syndrome. We now have hard biomarkers. And I always come back to when you're having a heart attack, you think you have chest pain. You don't know if it's coming from the heart or the lung, or it could be trauma to the chest. It could be a viral infection. And so there's a protein called troponin. And that protein is released by damaged cardiac cells. So if you're having a heart attack, you have damaged heart cells. And so you measure that. So if it's elevated beyond a certain amount, you know it's a heart attack. And we're taking that same principle to autism. Same principle. We want to have hard biomarkers. I'm more than excited. I can't believe that we are developing and have this agreement with UCF. This could be a major, major breakthrough, not just in autism, Because serotonin is a neurotransmitter that's involved in Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, Lou Gehrig's disease, multiple sclerosis. I mean, this could be a major breakthrough to neuroscience.
Okay, so we have so you have this serotonin assay. You're using saliva. What's and this is essentially. Do you need any kind of FDA approval or anything to market this? Like, or can this be commercial? Like, can this be commercialized as a standalone product? And if so, what's the potential? What's the
Yes,
path to
of
get there?
course, and great potential. But right now, you have to prove the assay. We have to standardize it. We have to get a certain number of patients to see that it works. We don't need an FDA approval for an observational study. We need FDA approval if we want to market it as a standalone diagnostic test, which we will do in the future.
Okay, but that's okay. So, but essentially, you're using this really for your existing study. It's not. I mean, this is so that'll be like a nice bonus if you can develop this as a
That's a grand
commercialized
slam
product.
home run. That's not just a bonus. I mean,
It's
my
what?
God. What we have is IRB approval, which is Institutional Review Board approval, which is the highest level of ethical approval for a study. So our observational study has IRB approval in the United States and Canada through a major IRB organization called Advara. I think they may be the largest in the world now because the Canadian company acquired IntegraView, which was our company in the United States initially. So now it's all under the aegis of Advara. And so we move ahead only with IRB approved studies. We don't need FDA. We need FDA for a clinical treatment trial. What the IRB approval gives you is a high ethical approval, and then peer-reviewed journals will publish your articles, major journals. If you don't have IRB, you can't get in a major journal.
Okay.
With your scientific data.
Okay, so right now so the study that you're talking about, this the IRB study, this is the autism observational study that's going on right now that you launched, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Now you announced this, I think, about 4 weeks ago. And how many patients do you have enrolled right now in the ongoing
75 in the United States and Canada.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Which blew us away. It was a robust response.
Okay, now wait. Now this study, this is for autism or Fragile X? Which is
all aspects.
All aspects. Oh, the spectrum, basically.
It could be Rett syndrome. It could be Tourette syndrome. Anything that's under the umbrella of autism is included here.
Okay, so the study you have 75. Do you have a goal, like to have a certain amount of patients, or like what's the end point here for this study?
300 patients, 200 with a diagnosis of autism, all aspects of autism.
Okay.
100 neurotypical controls. That means we're comparing it on a 2-for-1 basis to normal individuals. We call them neurotypical. They're just normal neurologic patients.
Okay, and okay, so what's the goal of the study? When is it going to be? When are you going to have the results that you're going to be publishing? Because that's the goal, right? To publish the results.
Well, we want to have 300 patients. I mean, so
you're a third there.
Yeah, well, so we got to figure out. Well, we haven't advertised the study. If we start advertising, we may have more than 300 overnight. But then we have to analyze it. And we have to do what we call deep learning or machine learning on the data. We're going to have 52 genetic results from the mRNA. That's 52 separate genes that are involved in neuroinflammation. And then we're also going to have serotonin assays. Just think of 20 sheets of paper, but here it's 300 sheets of paper, 300 patients, and there's different data on each sheet. How do you analyze that? And so our consultant, Dr. Ambert, is director of artificial intelligence at Nike Corporation. He's got a broad background in medical studies, and he's going to be doing our analysis. We have an agreement with him. And so he is an expert on what we call machine or deep learning and artificial intelligence. And he'll use a supercomputer to analyze all the data on 20 sheets of paper simultaneously, or 50 sheets of paper, or 300 sheets of paper simultaneously. And then this program he has designed can automatically update as we submit more data. So if we have, say, 300 patients, 200 with autism, 100 neurotypical controls, once we get the baseline data, we could study them again in 6 months, 1 year. And then those patients will have a priority to be enrolled in the FDA study in the United States and the Health Canada study in Canada.
Okay.
So they're going to be on a priority basis because we already have their data.
Okay. So yeah, I think one of the things that in case anybody is brand new to the program, hasn't come across Nova before, we'll talk a little bit about your background. But you've commercialized, you've brought drugs, medical devices to market through the FDA process, multiple. I mean, how many
More than I
FDA
have hair
approvals?
on my head right now.
Okay.
I've done
So
probably
then
6 to 7
okay.
NDAs through the FDA successfully through various companies that I've had. And then I've got 2 medical device approvals through the FDA, notwithstanding many clinical studies that I've gotten approval for. You're talking about NDA, new drug application approvals, then I've done numerous clinical studies for big pharma over
Yeah.
the years.
So, and I think the reason I bring this up is that anybody watching, investors, they understand that okay, there's a process, there is a system behind what you're doing because you're basically following a successful format that has worked before to get drugs commercialized. And there's a track record in terms of, look, I mean, the companies you've been involved with have been major winners. I think one was like a 50x or more. One of the key investors, Derek, has had I believe a 100x plus win. So I think when you have this type of winning team, success tends to repeat, which is I think a something to keep in mind for investors. So let's kind of get into the kind of, I guess, the main event. You got the phase 2A Health Canada study coming up. This is about, from my understanding, it's 4 to 6 weeks away now, I think in July. Now, you had some progress towards it. You got the DEA export license this week for, this was what, to get the psilocybin into Canada, the drugs
Yeah, I
into
know.
Canada.
This is a major development for our company. It takes time. This is the regulatory agency of the US government, and they work at their own speed. We're very pleased that the DEA has seen fit to issue an export license for us. So the drug has just been received in Canada at TIPT, the Toronto Institute of Pharmaceutical Technology. They're a final formulation, an expert organization in Canada. They've received it, and we're starting to produce the pills, the microdose capsules that will be submitted to Health Canada. Now, they've given us a date, maybe of July 1st, which is exciting to us. That we're 2 weeks ahead of our budget or our
Okay.
schedule. We were expecting July 15th. This could be July.
Okay.
We thought it
This
would
is
take longer to get the drug into Canada, but it didn't.
Okay, so this is good. Marvin, the thing is, especially in the microcap space with biotech, one of the things that investors fear the most is delays. So so the fact that you're getting things done not just on time but ahead of schedule is, very significant. So basically we're going to have TIPT. They're going to be formulating, they're going to be manufacturing the microdose psilocybin capsules to be used for the study. Now, you're going to be submitting, from my understanding, the process to go to Health Canada. You're going to give them, once you have the capsules, you're going to give them the capsules and the protocols for the study, right? At the same time.
Yes, many companies can go to the regulatory agencies and just submit their documents. We have a 72-page document that has been created already. The clinical study, all the application needs, all the drug paraphernalia and details are already written up. We didn't want further delay, which companies do have. We felt it would be better for us to delay 4 to 8 weeks and produce the final capsules. Do some stability study on those capsules so that we have answered every question that could be thrown our way by Health Canada. And so if you submit your documents, you run the risk of having to withdraw them. If they say, we want to see what capsules you're going to use, what does the final drug look like? You've now lost maybe 8 weeks. You may have lost 16 weeks. You first have to go back. We didn't want to. We figured baby steps. It'd be better to delay and be successful.
Yeah, I think, and again, this is the one thing,
I've done this before,
right.
Jack, my
Well,
whole life. I mean,
Marvin, this is what I like about this. Like, this is why, listen, this is why personally, I invested a significant amount of money in the private placement, because I said, okay, these guys have a track record. They know what they're doing. They've done this before. They've gotten drugs commercialized. Generally in drug development and biotech, people tend to repeat. In other words, once somebody succeeds through the process, they tend to repeat that success again.
yeah, it's
So
amazing to me. I mean, you have companies in our sector that have one patient enrolled, and then they make an announcement. Oh my God, the patient it worked. Come on, this is not the way you run a
yeah,
pharmaceutical
so
company. This is the way you just
yeah,
beat,
we're here to basically look at the idea here is to
pump
get
and dump, pump and dump. That's the problem with
yeah,
our industry. I mean, there's a lot of players in our industry. We're not one of those players, and I don't think the world knows who we are. We're
right.
very small. We don't advertise. We don't hype the stock. We only put out announcements that have substance. A DEA license, moving a large amount of material to Canada, because we're sitting on a huge supply of psilocybin in the United States.
Okay.
API, active pharmaceutical ingredients. Now we have it in Canada.
I
Now
think
we produce capsules. No one has ever produced substantial amount of microdose capsules of psilocybin. And I'm pleased to announce that I'm presenting, and then we'll have further announcements about it, but it is in the public domain right now. We haven't put out an announcement that I'm presenting the revolutionary data we have on microdose therapy at the 14th International Fragile X meetings in San Diego. These are world meetings that occur every 2 years, and they've accepted my presentation, and then we're going to be releasing that data to everybody in our industry. So stand by. You're going to see, which in my estimation, in my age, and with all the drugs I've developed, I've never seen data that comes through with such efficacy and such standard statistical significance. The world's going to see some unusual data in autism,
also
Fragile X especially.
fragile. Okay. Now I think you're going to be presenting at an institutional investor conference in a few weeks, right? That's
Yeah, I just got invited. It's my birthday.
okay.
I can't go to New York. My wife would divorce me on my birthday if I run to New York, but I've been away too much. I
Right,
just
right. You're in the jungle, yeah.
So the 27th and 28th, H.C. Wainwright is having
Okay.
a conference in New York. We've been invited, and I just got back and I've accepted. So I'm presenting.
Okay.
So we're going to probably show some of that data that it's so robust. I can't hold back, but show the
Okay.
data on the microdose
Yeah,
therapy.
it's interesting because I was at, they had a conference a few weeks ago, the one that was in Miami, which was a whole bunch of companies, and I talked. They had a bunch of psychedelics companies presenting. I spoke to some institutional investors. I said, hey, you know, are you following anything? Are you following like developments in psilocybin for autism? Are you familiar with Mentis? And everybody was like really intrigued. I mean, people were really intrigued. They haven't heard of Mentis before, and I
Well,
think
we
now, yes, and so this is like
That's
an
Rodney
incredible,
Dangerfield,
yeah.
he's a fun. He says, I know who I am, but I get no respect. We have not let the world know. We will let
And
them know.
this is right.
Right? I don't
This
want
is
to. I'm not a music company, so I've seen announcements in our field. Oh, we acquired this music division, so when the patient is receiving his LSD, he could have a more comfortable environment. I mean, is that what we're in? Is this what we're developing? Music
right.
for psychedelic therapy? Come on.
No, so this is no. It's actually so. There's a couple of points. One is all the news flow from the company. It's been substantive news. There's not been any fluff here. Now, what investors are really finding interesting. I think the thing that's getting that interest is that you're really Mentis is I think the first psychedelics company to have the FDA orphan drug designation for autism or Fragile X,
We're
and
the
this
only
is
company
something.
in the world that has both designation in Europe and the United
Okay,
States.
the only I was saying that so it's the only, and But there's other psychedelic companies with big market caps that are getting interested in this area, which I think could be very, very bullish for Nova stock, right? Which one I'm talking about? I get them all mixed up. They all sound the same. It's who's the guy that they're doing the I think they're getting into autism, Trent.
Oh, Compass. Compass
I think
just
it's
announced
Compass.
into
Okay.
autism. I
Yeah.
wonder if they decided to come into that because of Nova. I don't know. I mean, come
It'll
on.
be interesting to
They were
watch.
involved in depression and cancer for all these years, and now suddenly they're into autism. They want to understand how psilocybin works in autism.
But that but
Because we have good data. Who knows?
you know
But
what?
on the other hand, this
It
has been
validates the space.
oh,
Also, it's good.
absolutely. Come
Yes.
on. That one makes it exciting. Look, big pharma needs technology. And this has been my success my whole life. Technology is with small companies, creative technology at university levels. You acquire technologies. I've done this with the University of Virginia. I've done this with Duke University. I've done this with NYU School of Medicine. You take that technology to the next level, you prove that it works with the regulatory agencies, and then big pharma is going to acquire your company. I've done it 3 times
Yeah.
already. And but you can't predict. You have to go step by step in a classic chess. I'm a chess player. You want to play the game, you don't move a piece back. If you're playing against an equal partner, equal to you, the moment you move that piece back, theoretically, he has won the chess game. And so it's the same thing in pharmaceutical development. The moment you have to withdraw a piece from the board and you have to go back and reproduce a master file or a drug study or something's wrong or the way you did your batch analysis for your final formulation, which we're doing now. You need batch analysis. Just because you have an active pharmaceutical chemical, that's an API. How do you dose it? Is it by injection? Is it by pill in the mouth? Is it a capsule? Is it a compressed tablet? And then did you do stability studies? How do you ship it? What heat? I mean, a lot of
Marvin, Marvin, it's interesting. Maybe I need to get some of these microdose capsules because you've repeated this analogy several times about not moving back the pieces, about moving the studies forward. And I kind of, I maybe went in one area I didn't quite get. I really understand it. Basically, what you want to do is you want to make sure you have a smooth road through the the regulatory approval process, and you don't give them anything where they could push back or have you come back, because that casts some level of doubt on it. And this is where I think biotech companies run into trouble, is sometimes that slows down their momentum, and then the market starts doubting. It muddies the waters to some degree, although it happens a lot. And you want to essentially avoid that. You want to have you want to give them everything 100% perfect so that you just have a smooth path. Is that correct?
Absolutely. You went
Okay.
to a concert, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. They don't stop it because one of the instruments is out of tune. I mean, you don't want that to happen here either. I mean, come
Right.
on.
So this is what I think. I think this is one of the key value drivers that I see in this stock. I mean, for me personally, what I'm looking at is, okay, this is a team that's done it before. They're getting drugs commercialized. They know the process, and that's a big part of it. It's not just having a great concept. It's not having it's knowing the process, the nitty gritty, dotting the I's, crossing the T's of getting across that finish line, which is
Absolutely. And
yeah,
you're not just dealing with the US, it's a big
yeah.
world out there. I mean, while I was I'll be honest with you, after I got back from the Galapagos, I went to Colombia because I have developed drugs in Colombia before. There are 50 million people living in Colombia. Argentina's a bigger nation. There's a big market out there for autism. And so I took the time while I was in South America to take 5 days and start looking at some of my previous contacts in the pharmaceutical industry in South America.
Mark, it's this is really amazing. I mean, like the last time you were on the program, I think right afterwards you got COVID. You were really sick.
Yeah, that's
A
true.
week later, you're traveling like literally. I don't know how long the flight is to go from Florida to the jungle, to the Amazon,
Ecuador.
Ecuador. I don't know.
Then I went by motorized launch
Right,
from
then you were in the jungle, right?
Rio
and then the
the Rio
Galapagos,
Napo River
and
into
then you
the
go to Colombia, yeah, and then it's you know, it's a very exciting life you're living here. So I think
I'm also
again,
even more excited when we get phase 2A approval from Health Canada. That's what I've been working for the last 2 years. And every step has been well formulated and planned. This is a major development, and I don't see any problem. We should have, I think we've checked off every box. I think we're going to get Health Canada approval
yeah,
for the study, not for the drug to sell it. But I think that's going to occur shortly. When we
okay.
show robust data in Fragile X, which no one has ever done, it's going to be hard for regulatory agencies to say no. I don't think so. Maybe I should repeat it, but
So
maybe
so
give us
so the
a
path,
sympathetic.
yeah. So the path to so let's, yeah, again, it's just so for people to, you know, you've talked about it before, but let's go through it again. The path to commercialization for, you know, Nova Mentis is for the psilocybin for autism for Fragile X. Give us the exact path. So we're gonna do the Health Canada study. Give us step by step
Well,
timeline.
what you have here is is the classic approach. I said that earlier. The pharmaceutical development. You have to have a product. You have to prove efficacy. Then you got to make it into the right formulation, the API. You have non-GMP. Then you make it into CGMP. It takes time. And the CGMP means you validated every step of the manufacturing process, which could take a year, and a lot of money is spent on that. Then the moment you have that, you now have to have final formulation. You need CMC, chemistry, manufacturing of a pill. And so we finally found this organization in Canada that's perfect for us. We're a small company. We're not Pfizer, we're not Merck, but they may become interested in us one day. And then we went and hired a clinical research organization, in our case, KGK Science, which is based in Toronto. They're well known in Canada. And we're doing a joint submission with them. So we're working closely. I'm working with the head of their committee, Dr. Andrew Charette, and he and I and some other people in their organization have created a 72-page document that's ready for submission. The only thing that was standing in the way is the final formulation, the capsules. We then wanted to repeat the data in Italy orally. We had great data. I'm going to show that. We had unbelievable data in Fragile X injecting it. But we found that the oral formulation was 3 times as effective as the injectable formulation. Think about
Okay.
that.
So this is okay. This is
I mean,
big. By
you
the way,
inject the drug, you
yeah.
have 100% absorption. We're finding that taking psilocybin orally was 3 times more effective than by injection. Do we have a unique formulation, or is there something metabolically going on in the small intestine and with the microbiome, the bacteria in the small intestine? That's what I want to show in July.
Okay.
I'm going to hold the date. We're not going
And
to
we
just.
have talked, and there's some other, for people interested in this. We've done a couple of videos where we went into details about the microbiome, the role of the microbiome in autism, potentially the psilocybin, all that. So anybody's welcome to watch those. So realistically, bottom line is, if all goes well, when do you think the drug could be on the market? Let's say Canada and U.S. Like what
Ooh.
timelines? Potentially. I know this is
So we have
speculative.
pills. Hopefully, if we have pills by July 1, by July 15th, we're going to submit to Health Canada our dossier, 72 pages. At the same moment, my plan is just to submit also to the FDA. Okay. I think we'll get Health Canada first because it's going to be there right away. Health Canada, I think, has 30 to 45 days to make a decision. So maybe by the end of August, we'll have a major announcement that our phase 2A clinical study is approved to go ahead. At that moment, it only involves 20 patients. Those 20 patients are treated for 30 days. So they're reevaluated. It's every other day therapy. And I'm not going to go into the dosing yet. That'll be an announcement in itself.
Yep.
So we'll restudy the patient at 2 weeks, 4 weeks, and then 2 weeks after the last dose. So then we'll have that data. Then we'll analyze it internally. and then we'll then have a meeting with Health Canada. If the data is robust, I intend to not be bashful. I intend to ask for approval right away.
Okay. And
They
that
may
could,
deny me, but I don't know. I mean, if you have Fragile X, which is an untreatable,
yeah.
unmet medical need, and it's devastating, and we can improve the symptomatology of Fragile X by even 10%. How can you not approve that drug? There is nothing to these children and those families.
So that could be, if I did the math, if I added up, roughly 8 weeks from the time you know you'll have the meeting with Health Canada, potentially within 8 weeks or so of when you submit this the study protocols, right?
Yeah, but we still have to find the patients. We have to
Okay.
advertise, and
Okay.
we have KGK Science that will help
Okay.
us in Canada. We're going to try to do the study entirely in the Greater Toronto area,
Okay.
so we can control the study very quickly. But I don't want to hypothesize exactly when we're going to have the study complete. But I think we're on a pathway towards approval.
Okay. But okay, so but that could be, so that magic date could be when. In other words, when would you the meeting with Health Canada? When would you potentially request that meeting? Are we talking about in?
August, probably end of July, beginning of
Oh no, but
August.
no, but wait. That's end of July is when you submit the study protocols, right? And
Yeah, but then they may
the
respond without
result.
a meeting. They may just say can go ahead.
Okay. No, but I'm saying when do when in terms of when you get the results of the data from the studies.
Well,
That's
then we have to analyze it.
okay.
I mean, I can't. I have no idea. I mean,
That's going to
if
take a
we
while.
started the study by September, first week, second week in September, 20 patients, data, we might have data to submit by the end of the year.
Okay, okay. Okay. So you know what?
And by the
I
way, that doesn't stop doctors from using it and submitting it. So if we have data that now the world sees, a physician could apply to Health Canada for his office. It's called an investigator initiated IND. These are very valuable. So physicians in Canada can go ahead and say, I have 20 autism patients. I want to use the microdose capsules that
hmm,
Nova has produced.
they could do, and you're saying they could do that in theory in September?
They can do it as soon as they want
As soon as they
once
want, right.
we see our results.
Okay. Now what about the US? So
They're
potential
going to have to get, of course, Health Canada
okay.
approval for the study in their office. But keep in mind that this is an investigator initiated
Yeah.
IND. We can't sell it to them. We have to give it to them. And you can't charge a patient money for a non approved drug.
Right. Okay. What about the US? What's the path to get the US market approval, FDA approval?
Well, it's going to, so we're going to profile it immediately in the US after we submit to Health Canada. Nothing to stop us. We're ready. The dossier has been prepared. It's almost identical for the US and Canada. So I would like to do maybe submit to the FDA by September.
Okay. And so in terms of what are you going to submit to the FDA? This is going to be for
A
the
phase 2A study in the United
a
States
phase
for
2A study. Okay.
Fragile X
So you're
syndrome.
go- so you're going to do a separate phase 2A study in the
Yes,
US. Okay.
yes.
Separate phase 2A study in, let's
20 patients, same thing.
okay, in September we could start in theory. Let's say you
Well, no, we're going to submit to the FDA.
submit in September. You're going to
Then you have
submit in
30
September.
to 45 days to see
Okay.
the
Okay. So and in
In the meantime,
theory,
we're going to be doing the Canadian study.
okay. Okay. So and it's the same protocols. It would be the same protocol. Everything is the same, right?
Identical. Identical.
Identical, yeah. Okay, so in theory, you could be. Tell me if I'm out of line, but is it possible that you would have, you can get an IND filed in, let's call it January?
No, no, we would have the IND before January.
No,
If
I'm
we
sorry, not,
submit
not,
to
okay,
the
no, not the IND, the new drug, the new ND.
FDA. Oh my
When are you
God,
gonna? When are
Chad.
you gonna? Yeah, I'm getting all my FDA lingo mixed. When
No,
can
but you're
you
being,
apply?
I mean, you're
Yeah,
putting, I mean, I can't predict what the FDA is going to do. But on the other hand, if we can enroll patients quickly. If we submit to the FDA by September 1, say, that's theoretical.
Yeah.
Then we have to enroll 20 patients. The FDA has 30 to 45 days to respond normally. So worst case scenario, by end of October, we might have an approved phase 2A clinical study in the US, end of October.
Okay.
If we enroll patients, remember it's a 30-day study, we could have data by the 1st January 2023. Then we have to analyze that data, want to make sure everything is going according to program, and then submit it to the FDA. So
Okay.
we're going to need probably another month or two to analyze it, write it up. This is when the big time work. You got to write the whole thing up and submit.
Right.
It. That takes time.
Okay. But potentially you could have, I mean, potentially there could be a FDA approval in, let's say, in next year, second half of next year.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So in Canada a little bit earlier. So you could have Canada approval potentially,
Maybe by
maybe.
June, maybe earlier, maybe by
Yeah.
first quarter, second quarter.
Okay. So no, this is okay. So this is very compelling because look, right now,
We have enough money, by the way. We're not hurting. But we
okay,
are. We don't have more. We don't. We want more, but we're a lean machine, and we're not wasting any money.
okay. So no, it's interesting because like right now, even in the midst of a bear market, we're seeing biotech stocks, pennies. I mean, a lot of these Nasdaq stocks got crushed. Some of them are trading at 25, 50 cents, a dollar, whatever it is. But we're seeing that some of these things are flying. They're up 50%, 100%, 150%, like in a day, a massive volume just with some decent data, not drug approvals, but just data. So the data is really like, even in today's market, investors are paying attention to the data from these trials, and that's really creating massive drivers in these stocks. So I think we could potentially see something like that with Nova once you have your data. I mean, hopefully it's good data. I mean, if it's not good data, it could go in reverse, right?
Yeah, I think when they see the data at the World Meeting in July, I think they're going to fall off their chair. They have no idea what we have, and I think just the approval of phase 2A is worth a lot. You're talking about a market that's on its knees right now, and
Yeah,
people
biotech
are
stocks have
afraid.
been totally destroyed. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is when you want to be a
It's
phoenix.
the bottom of the cycle, right?
Yeah,
It's the bottom of the cycle. It's just like what we saw. I don't know. 2002, whatever. Every X amount of years, the market bottoms out, and this is when the massive fortunes are
no,
made.
this is why I wouldn't sell in this market, and my experience tells me you just hold on now. You're selling at the low, perhaps.
Yeah.
But what we're talking about healthcare.
Yeah.
Healthcare is recession proof. What's the use of having money if you're not alive?
Right. No. So, but it's interesting.
So people today have a post-COVID experience. They're afraid of disease. They're afraid of dying. They've seen it happen around them. And so I think biotech is going to be the name of the great game through the rest of 2022 and all of 2023. I think you're going to see new vaccines. It's not going to be maybe an mRNA approach to COVID. You're going to see better developments. Look, mRNA isn't the answer. I had 2 mRNA vaccines, Moderna, 1 and 2. Then I had an mRNA booster, Moderna.
Okay.
Then I had an mRNA booster, Pfizer, and I still got, it didn't protect me.
Right.
But my long-term tissue immunity is probably good. That's why I recovered so quickly.
Okay.
But there are more answers to COVID. We don't know all the answers. And it's the same approach to autism. As Plato said, you never know the answer. You only approach the answer. And I think Nova is making a solid approach to the answer of autism. And the world's going to hear about it in 2022, not 2023, because we're going to start showing our data.
Okay. And this is the big thing. So basically, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to see you're going to have this meeting with the people studying the Fragile X coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
Other stuff. So there's going to be a lot of data
Wainwright.
that could
Wainwright.
drive news flow.
Okay.
So
In
yeah,
2 weeks, we're going to show it at the Wainwright meeting.
okay, and then the Wainwright meeting coming. So there's a lot of catalysts I think in place now for the stock, which could really, have a significant impact on the stock, with that positive data. So, Marvin, on that note, I'm going to let you go. I know you got a busy day, and I will catch up with you maybe after the Wainwright meeting or after the next
Sure.
that conference. We'll get the update after the next big news announcement. We'll hopefully get some good audience questions answered and things like that. So again, thank you.
I
And
love questions. There are no stupid questions, only stupid answers. I think that makes my day when we have good questions from your audience and from shareholders. I mean, this is what we're here for. We work for the shareholders.
yeah, no, I appreciate that. So again, Marvin, thank you. And thank you everybody for joining us. So we'll see you all on the next live stream.